Well, welcome back to Back 10's prediction show. Of course, it is the grand final prediction show as well. So we, of course, here want to hear from you guys. As always, stick your comments in below. Obviously, game of the week is, of course, the grand final. Hull KR v Wigan Warriors. I'll explain the format again. As always, 1 point for the correct team, 3 points for the correct margin, and 5 points if you can get the correct score. I am in desperate need of that. 4 points behind leading journalist Matt Shaw, sat pretty at the top of the table, and our guests are a little bit down the pecking order. Our guest this week, of course, is a man who knows exactly about the grand finals. He appeared in no more than 9, having won 4 of them. It is the one and only Leon Pryce. Leon, welcome along.
Thank you, Gail. Good to be here.
Bit of pressure on you as a guest to try and get this week. No pressure.
No pressure.
He thrives in pressure, does Leon Pryce. Look, so let's get right into it. Look, of course, we've got all of this show to fully dissect, get into the weeds of how this game is going to be won and lost. Where do we start, Matt?
Do you want to know? We can start by going back to 2024, I think.
Okay.
So if you look back on that game, there was a key moment where that game was won and lost for me. Hull KR actually dominated the field position in the first 20 minutes. And Harry Smith booted Wigan out of danger, didn't he, for that first quarter of the game. His kicking game was phenomenal in the opening quarter. Well, Hull KR managed to force a dropout and put themselves in a position to post points, and they just didn't throw anything at Wigan. Wigan get the ball, Bevan French gets it, steps, rounds, try. That was where the game was won and lost. I thought Hull KR lost it in that set before, where they just didn't really do anything. So people may wonder where I'm going with this. My question comes back to whether Hull KR have changed enough as a team from last year to now so that if they get that moment, they score. They can post points. Now, here's my thing with that game. I watched Hull KR back in 2024, and my big criticism was they couldn't do anything on play 4. They were really predictable on play 4, and the reason was Mikey Lewis does all the kicking. And let's be honest, he still does now. So every play 4, Wigan knew Mikey Lewis wasn't going to get tackled. He was always going to move the ball. And it made him easy to defend, I thought. Now, my concern for Hull KR now is what's changed from that. We know they can win the field position and the territory battle against Wigan because they did it in that grand final. But can they, when they get in good ball, worry Wigan and their mean defence enough? And that, for me, is the big question about this grand final. Have Hull KR evolved in that regard? And I don't know.
Well, talking about the evolution of Hull KR, you can even go back further, can't you? Challenge Cup final, Lachlan Lamb's drop goal. They make the playoffs. They get hammered in the playoffs. They then go into 2024. They make the playoffs again, and then they get beat, obviously, in the grand final as well. Leon, they say in sport you have to lose one in order to win one. With that in mind and what me and Matt have just spoken about, is it now or never for Hull KR?
I don't think it's now or never, but there'll definitely be an improved and more experienced team and players with having those last 12 months. You know, they've been in a situation against Warrington, a Challenge Cup final at Wembley, where they took it to the wire, literally, and to the last, 2 or 3 minutes of the game before they found a way to win. That experience of understanding and learning how to win a big game and taking it right down to the last 2 or 3 minutes will stand them in good stead. Mikey Lewis has got 12 months more experience. I think he's matured much more as a player. He still had a fabulous year, excuse me, and still could be Man of Steel very easily. They have definitely got that experience, knowledge, know-how now to win a big game. And I think they're a much more evolved team now than they were when they played Wigan 12 months ago. And it doesn't really matter what game you're playing and how much experience you've got. If Bevan French or Jay Field get the ball in a little bit of space, you're struggling. That's the world-class players, they're X-Factor players. So saying that Hull KR, they just couldn't get there, but any game, if you give those boys a little bit of space and they find that moment when they can create space for themselves, then you're in trouble.
Well, 2025 grand final, there's only one try in it, and it came from a moment of brilliance from that man, Bevan French. Look, let's start by, let's take a step back and look at the two teams. Let's focus on the outside backs for the next couple of minutes. For me, what a matchup this is. the wingers, the centres, they almost cancel each other out, don't you? It's very difficult to say who's the better one than the other. But they have got a massive job on their hands this grand final. They're set starters, aren't they now? We're seeing outside backs now becoming so important in terms of dictating the flow of the opening exchanges in a game.
Yeah, I mean, and the irony, right? The guys for KR are former Wiganers. You've got
as it would be
Burgess, Davis, Gildart.
Yeah.
And there's Peter Hiku as well. Tom Davis is massive in this game. Containing him will be a big focus point for Wigan at the start of the sets. I think Davis was horrendously overlooked for Dream Team. I think he absolutely should have been in Dream Team because he's the best backfield winger in the comp. And yeah, they are key. Particularly for Wigan, Hull have done a great job of managing all outside backs all year. I think for Wigan, dealing with those guys is probably a bigger challenge than it is the other way for Hull KR, but they are absolutely going to play a part in this. For Hull KR, it's probably defensively. They had a few shaky moments, didn't they, down Peter Hiku's edge. I thought Saints had a good game plan against them. They tried to run over Mikey Lewis, get the ruck speed, go to Hiku's side. I think Wigan might try and do something similar to try and create that space, and as Leon says, if you give it to Bevan or Jay, and then any team in the world, there's panic stations out there.
Well, Bevan and Jay, you're right to mention as well there, but let's just look at Hull KR with Mikey Lewis and May. It seemed last year in 2025 that their best shot of scoring was, we've seen it so many times this year, a Mikey Lewis cage kick. May chasing up and hoping for a back and getting on scraps and getting over. They're going to need a bit more, aren't they, Leon, this year?
Yeah, they are, but I think they've got a nice balance to how they play. If you watch them when they have a shot on an edge and then when they come back through the middle, you can't switch off on the edges because you don't know if Minchella's going to play short, you don't know if he's going to play out the back, or you don't know if he's going to run himself. So they can attach themselves from the edge to edge. They could go shift to the left-hand side, come back through the middle with Minchella, who can then look short or play out the back, and that then brings the right edge into play. So I like the way they play. I think they're well balanced with the halfbacks. And they are a workman-like team. They work together. They have got the X factor. Listen, Michael Lewis on his day can score tries from anywhere on that field, can create opportunities from anywhere, any position on that field. So they are a team with a system and a format of playing where every single player knows their role. They can tell that they know the role. I think Mencello is really smart and acute with how he plays. He doesn't always run. He doesn't always pass. But he knows he finds a nice balance, which for me that's a good attribute to have that ball handling 13 that can bring both sides of the field into play, that takes a little bit of pressure off both halfbacks when your middle can play like that, and he doesn't overdo it. And it's similar to how Yo plays. Not comparing, but it's the same kind of role where it brings the middle into play, and he's a real important key figure for him.
The story for me, the interesting story of Hull KR is Tyrone May. So if you look at Tyrone May, he's played in the last two grand finals, played for Catalan in 23. And if you remember that year, he was phenomenal for Catalan. I think he topped the assist charts. He was throwing ridiculous passes. His role changed at Hull KR. But both grand finals, he's been kept quiet by Wigan. I just get the impression, he's been banging form the last couple of years. I thought he was really good at the weekend. He was the match winner against Warrington, scoring those 2 tries. I think he's got a big say in this grand final and whether Hull KR win it or not. And I think we'll talk about Lewis, we'll talk about Hiku, we'll talk about Minchella. I think Tyrone May is probably the man who, for Hull KR, is the difference between win or loss.
Well, as a former front rower, usually we say that, if they don't do our job, then
very true.
The halfbacks and the stars of the game, they can't do their bit. So talking about the packs, Jared Warea-Hargreaves, will he play?
Well, by the time this goes out, we'll know. He has been charged for that tackle on John Bennison, which means his career could be over, which seems
that'd be sad, wouldn't it?
It's a tragedy, really, isn't it? If he misses out on the opportunity to bow out on the big stage. They will appeal. They will appeal. We don't know right now as we record whether they will, but they absolutely will. We'll know the outcome by the time this comes out. The thing for Hull KR with that is, if you look at who didn't play at the weekend, Kalepa Tanginoa didn't play. Well, it's not a bad player to bring in, is it? But it's the aura, the presence.
You've just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to turn to Leon there and say, Leon, look, you played with some giants of the game. Up front, Adrian Morley's, those kinds of people. I understand what Matt's saying. Obviously, Gerald Warea-Hargreaves are his better days behind him, probably. Yeah. But, and there is a but here, how important is it to have somebody like that alongside you to start a game in a big arena where you need to get on top quickly?
Well, I've seen him play. I watched the Hull FC derbies, Hull KR, which are really fiery games, and he absolutely dominated some of those games. And you could see the pack and the team roll from behind him. They came from behind him. He led from the front, and he's aggressive and he's nasty, and he plays the game violent, and it's enjoyable to watch. The game is supposed to hurt. You know, it's not a nice game, is it? It's you know you're going to get hurt on that field, and he brings that level of violence to the game that's enjoyable to watch as a fan, in my opinion. Plays it right on the line. We're not expecting him to be at peak powers. You know, we know his best years are behind him, but you know he's possibly got one game left of his career, and I think he's vitally important to Hull KR and how they start the game, the first 20, 25 minutes, to lay the platform and to bring that level of safety, if you like. He's like a father figure to those players, you can see, and those boys will play off the back of how he dominates in that first 15, 20 minutes. If nobody else confronts him, it's up to Wigan to confront him, to meet him head on, to not let him get his elbows up in the throats and elbows and swinging arms and really make it messy. It's up to Wigan, to somebody to confront him and to not let him have it all his own way.
Well, you mentioned about calling the Hull KR pack a workmanlike pack, flipping it on its head, and you look at the Wigan Warriors pack. Well, they are very workmanlike themselves. You know, Mincelli, you're right, to ball play and be the glue in that middle. Well, Cade Ellis as well, who I think he's a bit of an unsung hero, I think, for Wigan. His ability to mix up his game and link sort of forwards into the backs and carry the ball, and you know he's a very good defender as well. Look, there's loads of little mini matchups in this. This is why it's so exciting. Jez Litton, Brad O'Neill, you know, both of them who you could argue that both of them will be a part of the Ashes this season. You know, Matt, where do you think, on the balance of it all, we're now going to focus on the two packs. Who has the advantage in the middle of the field? Who has the advantage heading into this, in your opinion?
What a question that is. I'm not sitting on the fence here. I think it's incredibly even. I think it's incredibly even.
Leon?
Yeah, I agree with him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that brings it then down to why the halfbacks are so important, doesn't it? Because if both forward packs cancel each other out because they're both as good as each other and they're both finding ways to keep a stranglehold on each other, then it becomes down to your kicking game. Then it comes down to your X-factor players. So there isn't much in it, is there? I mean, Nasemba is a beast. Is he playing his best rugby at the moment? Probably just finding his feet again after a little bit of a quiet period. But on his day, he's a giant who can pick people up, ragdoll them and throw them into touch, no problem. They look like little boys when he's playing. So I agree with Matt. Yeah, I think they're both as good as each other.
I think Nsemba's fascinating because I think right here, right now, he's not in the England squad. Right? Is this his last roll of the dice to get in the Ashes squad?
Yeah.
Could be. He didn't have his best game in the semi, did he? He had some moments where he great, but he came up with some mistakes.
Still very.
This is what makes it fascinating, isn't it? This is what makes it fascinating.
I think people are losing this on Nsemba. Now, we've spoke about him not being in top form at times on the show, and he hasn't been. It's his first real full season, right?
Yeah.
First full season at the age of 21. His stats are still pretty good. Do we see him back at his best? Great story. Really interesting subplot of this grand final.
Well, look, you know, guys, we need your comments at home. You know, as we've always said, you know, do let us know who wins this game, by how many, and the correct score, please, as well. And any other comments that you have as well regarding the things that Leon and Matt have been speaking about. One thing that's been pretty evident in all of that, you know, we've talked about the outside backs, we've talked about the half backs, we've talked about the forward backs. They are all sort of, we're in agreement. They cancel each other out. It is hard to say who has the advantage. What that does say to me, though, is that it's going to come down to a special moment from special players.
And as we come towards giving us predictions, that's where you talk about Jay Field and Bevan French, isn't it?
I think a player that goes unnoticed really is Jake Wardle as well.
Agree.
He, for me, in my opinion, is the most naturally gifted centre in the competition. He's a player that I watched when he played for Huddersfield. I watched his career there, and he is freakishly talented. I mean, his step and his offload and the way he's balanced, it could come at one moment for him. The centre's position's vital when that ball comes out there. He could definitely come up with a moment.
I've said about Jake Wardle, and I'm going to sort of contradict myself here because earlier on this week's prediction podcast, the Bat 10 podcast, I mentioned about we should never really compare generations. I think Jake Wardle, Leon, it'd be interesting to get your take on it. He could have played in any era, I think.
Any era, 100%. The way he carries that ball, he's a natural footballer. He's gifted. You can tell he's not one of these kids that could pick up a ball and it's natural for him, the way he carries, the way that he plays, the way he moves. I rate him highly, and I think that he could come up with a moment without a shadow of a doubt, and we shouldn't overlook his name.
Okay, right. Prediction time, Matt. We are at the final end of this show, this grand final prediction show. All year, we've said it would be a travesty if it wasn't Hull KR v Wigan. It's 1v2 once again. Go on then. Who wins, how many, and the score?
I think we will see an incredibly similar grand final to last year. And I think we'll see an incredibly similar outcome. I'm going to use Willie Peters' logic against him here. He always talks about evidence provides belief, and evidence provides proof that things are going to happen. All the evidence is that Wigan win grand finals. Hull KR have the evidence of winning a Challenge Cup final for sure. But Wigan in these big games always turn up. Hull KR won that game at Wembley. Did they turn up and play really well? No, they didn't, but they still won, which is a big trait, I know. But for me, Wigan have the edge. Because of field, because of French. And as a result of that, I am going for a 10-4 win to Wigan.
So Matt Shaw, 10-4 win to the Wigan Warriors. Leon, I'll come to you. Yeah, let's have it. Who wins the grand final? By how many and what score?
Yeah, it's a similar prediction, I think, for me. It's going to be close. Mikey Lewis, can he have a big game, big performance on the big stage? 100%. And those X-Factor players that we've talked about for Wigan, it's hard to look past Wigan, innit? I mean, I know Hull KR have been unbelievable and they've won the league leaders, they've won the Challenge Cup, but I just believe that Wigan can turn up on the day, on the night, grand final night, and just put that performance together, and I think they'll win 18-8.
18-8 for Leon Pryce, of course. 9 grand final appearances. He would know more or better than most. For myself, look, I think, I've said a number of times on this show that I can't see past Wigan Warriors when it comes down to it. The clutch moments, the big game experience, the DNA of the club. They get excited this time of year. Okay, I've been sensational in 2025, but I think it comes down to a Wigan Warriors win, and I think Wigan win this game 19-12. I think Harry Smith probably does the same as last year and takes an opportunity to knock one over in the first half and a drop goal when it presents itself. And I think they win 19-12. Guys, let us know. Don't forget to hype us up wherever you can by hitting that hype button that's left. If you swipe left, at the comments, that hype button will be revealed. Hit that so we can reach farther and wider audiences. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell because we will be running this podcast right the way through up until the end of the Ashes series. So plenty more content to come from myself and Matt and the rest of the team here at All Out Rugby League Back 10. My thanks to Leon. Thanks to Matt, as always, and to you guys at home. Thank you for joining us all throughout season 2025 and getting involved. We love hearing from you each and every week. It really does mean a lot to us here. Enjoy the grand final, and goodbye for now.